Hello. Hey Peyton, good morning. Hey Rains Phoenix. Good evening. Peyton, you should be asleep, bud. Surprised you're still up. Actually, I'm not surprised you're still up. Hold on one second. Hey Nix, good evening. Hey Odd Hive, what's up? Sorry, I'm on Restream, so I'm kind of updating everything and seeing if I am getting the correct update. Updating everything and seeing. See, I'm not. Hey Yvonne. So give me 1 second while I update all this stuff. And then let me see what's going on with Twitch. Okay, cool. So Twitch is working. Okay, Restream has a chat though. Twitch is working. Yes. So Restream is working. It's not even so much the chat as it is the video itself, if that makes sense. All right, welcome everybody. I've got this little guy right here that's giving me both stream from both Twitch and YouTube. I think it says it is. So yeah, welcome everybody. My name's Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. If you're here right now, you probably are subscribed to me. Otherwise, I don't know how you found me. Today we are going to be taking a look at a VST that was given, that I was provided a copy to. It's called Enrage, and it is supposed to be a multi-effect, kind of like multipass, but it's got its own suite of effects and it's got its own particular workflow. Hey Django, what's up, man? And so I'm kind of just going to be demoing it today and seeing if I can come up with some cool, good day part, seeing if I can come up with some cool and interesting patches or something. So I think what I'm going to do is just create kind of like a simple respace or something, and then see if we can get some interesting movement. Sorry, just checking for sound. Let's get some distortion on that. Cool. And then let's grab ourselves a filter. And we'll do this. And then let's grab ourselves a limiter, so that way we can have a lot of harmonics and movement to work with already. So this is what Enrage looks like. I've had a chance to play with it last night, and then I went and read the manual. And at first glance, I think that it's pretty cool. There's some things that I like about this. There's some things that I don't like about this. In particular, I do appreciate that there is an oscilloscope. This is just an envelope follower, so that doesn't count, but you can see that you can see the waveform and stuff. But I really do like this aspect of that. And you can change the voicing mode. You can change or have this like do sidechain and filter this to have like only show specific frequency ranges. And I think that you can even hone in and like listen to specific frequency ranges through this as well. So it's pretty cool in that nature. Some similarities between multipass and this is that you've got quite a bit of modulators to choose from. I don't know how many you can have. I tried going up to 10 and I still had room for more. So I think that you're probably pretty okay with 10. The most important thing for me was that there is a random LFO. There's a sample and hold version, but on this one it's kind of cool that you have like a ramped randomizer, which I don't think I've seen that before. So it's like in between a curved and a square. So you've got these little jump cuts and stuff, but everything else kind of moves in that way. What else? There's like, ooh, boom and rage. Cool. What else is cool about this? There is some pitch tracker. Oh, there's a formulaic aspect of this. So you can pretty much put in a formula. I think I took pictures of the times tables that you can do. So we could put in something like ABS X on here. Bass. ABS. Dude, please. Abs, because abs are good. Function X. Hit enter. Airline 1 expression is not a function. Let's try that instead. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to go to sleep. Good night. Okay, Peyton, I'll see you tomorrow, buddy. Peyton's my cousin. So, yeah, there's other formulas that you can enter through this and then have that do something. And then you can do things, all the things to some extent. And then, of course, the most important thing is that instead of just having like a line of however many effects you want, you've got this kind of like rack system. And this is probably where my biggest complaint with this comes into play, because you can only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 effects in serial. Now you can do some cool stuff with this, as in you can move this over and then split the effects. Okay, night. You're going to bed too? That's fine. And then you'd use like a drag and drop function. But the workflow between this is a little bit clunky in that way, and it's kind of just not very intuitive in the sense like, why can't I just like have some kind of how do I want to say this? I would like there to be like maybe some kind of wire or something to kind of keep stacking effects, so that way I can have up to 64 maybe. And then also, like, in order to place an effect in here, you have to find the effect and then drag it over. Whereas if you want to get rid of this, which is kind of where the interesting thing is, you have to right click and remove the device. So it's not like the end of the world, but it is kind of weird that this uses a drag and drop feature, but then to get rid of it, you right click. So yeah, I don't really get that. But it isn't the end of the world. And there are some cool things about this. And I guess like from here, we can kind of just go over some of the options that you have that might be actually advantageous to you in comparison to other multi-effects. In particular, there are some specific effects and like tools. So like there's even like a spectral analyzer on here, which is kind of cool. And then you can see that it'll just kind of do that. So if I were to send something through this, I know that we're not really doing anything crazy in particular, but it's kind of nice that like you've got stuff like this, and that can be handy, and you've got different things that you can do. So that's cool. That's actually a stereo imager on there. That could be actually super useful. On the in-outs, you've got different functions of stereo in, sidechain in, and this would be important if you're trying to use like a vocoder from like another thing. I haven't quite set that up yet. Maybe we can do that in a second. Then this one is, what is this? I can't tell what this says. Tap source? I don't know what that is, but I'll have to check that out. Or maybe if Data Broth is awake and comes in here, then I'm sure he'll be able to tell me what that is. But yeah, you've got stereo in, stereo out, sidechain in, and that's for your in out. Then you've got two different gain types. You've got gain linear and then gain decibel. On the delay, you've got a tape delay, a multi-tap delay, a grain delay. Is that a shift delay? That looks like you've got a repeater, and then you've got a fixed dry. So these are pretty unique compared to other things in their own right. Now, my favorite thing is that it's got a wave shaper, and it works how you would hope that it would, how a wave shaper would work. And this is probably like one of the biggest things that I'm really excited about, the fact that you can have a multi effect and then do wave shaping in between. So can you use more than, yeah, you can. you just kind of click and drag, and then you can start doing your stacks, and then you'll see that it'll automatically kind of route that for you. But yeah, you can have more than one. This is huge for me. And there's also different presets and stuff that you can use, which is kind of cool, but it doesn't look like you can, I don't know if you can or not. Can you save this as a preset? It doesn't seem like it. And then there's also no randomize, but that's okay. That's not really, again, not really a deal breaker. And I almost want to say that for me personally, I would want to do this from scratch every time anyways. But you've got regular distortion types that kind of flow along medium, hard, fuzzy. I think this is more for like clipping and overdrive. Then you've also got a decimator, which is your bit crusher. This sounds pretty cool actually. This is in a stereo split, so we'll get rid of this one. I don't know, I just like the character of that. It sounds pretty cool. You've got a variable drive, I think, or vari drive. I'm not really sure what that is, but oh, sick. I think what this is you can add harmonics either to the even harmonics or odd harmonics, and I'm not really sure how that's split up. And I looked at the manual and I didn't really see a specific description of that, but you got a DC offset filter, balance aspect. Now, this would lead me to my second thing. Like, I would really like because we're in version 1.1, so 1.1.0. So obviously, like, this is pretty new, and we're not, they're not nearly as, I would say, like, seasoned or like nearly as into like iterations of this. But one thing that I would like to see, for one, is the ability to change colors of these. And two, I really want them to update the interface of each individual effects, because I'm very visually oriented in particular, but like it's kind of hard and not very intuitive to just see this thing and be like, and know what it is, right? But that's not to say that it's bad by any means. I just noticed that a lot of like devices that are on here are just knobs, and sometimes that can be counterintuitive. On the dynamics section, we've got a compressor and a gate. Sounds from the DAW is a bit loud. Okay, one sec. Okay, that should do it. So this is just kind of like your standard compression rate, nothing too crazy. Then we've got our gate here. And see if, yeah, so that's pretty aggressive, and it's got a pretty quick attack, 0 milliseconds. That's pretty good. Not every gate that you have has the ability to go that low, so that's pretty good. Let's see, we've got a bunch of different filter types, and unfortunately I don't think that you can create like your own filters, or I guess you can. There is a parametric EQ, so there is that, but this leads me into the next problem, where for one, this is just peaks and shelves, but the other issue is that I can't resize this over here. And can I do that over here? No, this is it. And I've got a big screen, but like I can't I can't fill this out. So it would be really nice if this could be readjusted to the point that on these parametric EQs and stuff, for one, that it's not just shelving, but two, I would like you to be able to change the filter types in between these. That, like, the drawback to that though is that you've got some pretty interesting multi-filters, or like different filter types. So low pass, high pass. Okay, so this would be in between your low pass, band pass, and high pass. Again, having a visual would be really nice. This is a splash, so this is something completely different. Was about to ask if it's resizable. Yeah, it's not, so I don't know what to say. This one in particular, let me see what this does. I want to say that you maybe add a band or so. You don't. So let's maybe change something over here and let's see what this does. Okay, nothing. I'll have to check the manual for that. Actually, let's take a look, because the manual is right here, which is kind of nice that you can just go and grab the manual. But let's take a look at the devices. I'm going to go Command F. Actually, I'm going to look up splash, because I think that's what it's called. Let's see. Okay, so Splash. A special frequency mangling device, quite similar to the parametric EQ. It simulates the behavior of a water surface to define the magnitude response over the whole frequency spectrum. You can alter the characteristics of the physics simulation with the parameters tension, damping, and spread. Changes in the gain and frequency ripple through the frequency spectrum based on fluid surface simulation. Okay, well, on paper, that sounds pretty amazing, and whether or not I can get that to work is something else of just spending time with it. But how cool does that sound? Now, is there a dry wet or? Okay, so it's doing some things, and you can see right here, but that doesn't really, I'm not really able to see what that's doing to the actual sound or so. Oh. Okay, so that's kind of like, you can barely tell, but that's kind of like a watery thing or something, so to say. And I guess, like, I wonder what would happen if you stacked like a bunch of these. And can I also hold, okay, so if you hold Option, then you can continue to get a few different ones, but I wonder if by pushing this up more and more, if you can continue to get like weird sounding things. Okay, well, it's doing things, which is good. I like when it does things. Be water. God, the most misused analogy ever. Yeah, this might not be the best example for the input that you have, but assuming that it's over maybe a piece of Foley or something, that could be interesting. So there is that. We'll remove these. Let's see. There's also a valve filter. So I guess there's two different kinds. There's talk box and vowelize. So let's listen what that sounds like. It's nice that this one actually has a dry wet. So that could be kind of cool to automate, or maybe even do like a band split or something and do a few of those. So that could be pretty interesting. And then you can see here that you've got your 2-band, 3-band, 4-band, 6-band splits. So this is cool. The only thing that I worry about though is that you have to use one of these as an effect. Hey Sparky. You have to use one of these as an effect, which takes up a slot. So, you know, if you go into a 2-band split and throw that in here, well then you have to resize this and pull it all the way down, so you're automatically like at a disadvantage for that. So California. Oh right, you can't hit delete either. That doesn't do anything for you. Yeah, so you have to right click and then go to remove device. Let's see. The generator is actually kind of cool because like if you do stuff like ring mod and all that, then you've got these different things to choose from. So if you just drop a sign in here, that's going to create a sign for you. So I'm not going to leave that on, but you can see here from these different things that you have that. The crackle is actually interesting to me because that kind of simulates vinyl noise. So this in itself is kind of cool just to have. Like that's, I like this a lot. Yeah, especially just for having that as a generator, that's pretty cool. Okay, so imaging is just like a regular stereo split. So you've got side split, merge, panning, mid-side, decode, mid-side encode, mid-side split, mid-side merge. Your modulation falls into chorus, flanger, phaser, vocoder, and ring mod. The vocoder, I'm not really sure how to get this working, but I'm pretty sure you have to go to sidechain in, and then you have to maybe go probably group this, I imagine, and then go to audio in, or is that a modulator? I don't remember. Envelope follower, nope. So maybe audio in, audio receiver rather, and then we can go to something else to where let's just duplicate this and change this into some other kind of thing. We'll try that one because that's different, polarizingly different. And we'll mute that. And then on this one, we'll go into the vocoder. Is it doing things? Okay, it's stopping right here. No input, faceplant out. And then now let's see if we can get that to go. I would think that would be how you do it. Oh, obviously I'm breaking this somehow. That's interesting. Okay. Maybe that's a beta issue, but I'm pretty sure that's how you would do that, I want to say. We'll move on though. Okay, so yeah, that's a way that you can do that stuff. Let's take a look at the chorus. That sounds pretty cool, actually. There's also a spread phase, which is kind of sick. It's a shame that there are no voices that you can go in between. And then also there's this little feedback knob, but that's turned off. So that's kind of odd. But I do like the way that sounds. It's different than your typical. Let's take a look at the flanger. I see one of the devices is called voice shift, so I'd assume that's a format shifter. That'd be nice. We'll take a look in just a second. Oh, dude, this sounds great. Okay, so it looks like the feedback section is kind of like at 0, 0. So if you go left, then it goes into negative feedback. If you go positive, it goes into positive feedback. And then obviously, if you want this to move or something, you're going to have to throw an LFO onto it. So I guess speaking of, the way that you do that is you just grab this little thing over here and you drop that onto, I think it's this, maybe? This one? There we go. And then you can kind of drag in between and have that go there. And if you right click, that doesn't do anything, but it's cool that it will also open up another modulation that you can do. So if you want to mod a mod, and then I want to say, I'm trying to figure out, okay, here it is right here. So if you want it to be bipolar, then you have that clicked right there. And if not, then you can kind of just set it to a value of that. And there you go. And it's not the most intuitive in that way. I think that this can be solved to not only free like GUI space and all that stuff with right click stuff, but I mean, like I said, it's available, and you know, you got to take what you can get, right? So yeah, that is pretty cool in that sense, and I do like that flanger, and this is going to kind of like come into like a general idea about what I think this is used for, but just kind of keep that in mind, and I'll revisit that idea in just a second. Yeah, I like the way that sounds too. So how many stages do you have? Oh, you got to do the plus button there. So you can do up to 6 polls. Let's try upping the feedback. I think it's serviceable. Not my favorite, but it's cool. Vocoder, and then you got your ring mod, so there's that. Now, one thing that I think that you can do is you can insert a generator here, like this, and then go into a sine wave like this. Wait, that should have done that. I guess not. I did that not too long ago. Remove device. You might have to go to in out and then go to maybe a tap source in or something, and then maybe try a generator of a sine. But I don't remember how I did this, but I can say that you can use these different generators to create different kinds of like ring mod shapes, which is kind of cool. But I guess as of now, how did I do that? I don't remember. We'll keep moving on though. Let's see, on the pitch, there's the pitch shifter. So, ooh, it's got granular and spectral and snappy and smooth. So that's kind of cool. I really like that. So this is cool, but I definitely would like to be able to mess with like the grain size and stuff. But it also, like, on one end it's cool, but it also sounds broken. And so the fact that it's different makes it interesting, right? But it doesn't necessarily behave in the same way that you might want it to. So there is that. The voice shift is here. So there is kind of like a formant voice shift like that. That sounds kind of interesting. It's not as dramatic as I would like it to be, but that's not to say that, you know, it's not cool. And then this one is a warp. This one's really interesting. It does like weird shit, so. The only problem with this though is I don't think that you can automate these points, and I'm looking over to the bottom and seeing if any of that's there. And so like another potential drawback, maybe not, is that you can see here that there's not really a whole lot of stuff that you can mess with as far as like macros to make this like more modular in that sense. And so if you are coming into this expecting like a super modular experience, then that's not really what I think this is designed for, even though it can do some modulation. It's not, you know, necessarily multipass or something. Oh, hi, Glurk. But it is cool that like you do have a bunch of different effects that at least are interesting, right? Pitch and formant shifts indeed have a specific sound, so it sounds cool, but I agree some more control would have been nice. Yeah, I think so too. I definitely do like that warp though. It's pretty cool. Grain size especially, right? And so the sub-octaver I think was designed specifically for bass is what they were saying. So if you've got something that's lacking and you need a little bit more low end, then I think what this will do is put an octave below and then also an octave above. So it will kind of create like essentially an octave chord. You can see that adds a little bit of sub to it, but that seems like it's just like a sign. I can't really tell. Have you tried macroing the warp graph? I haven't, but I will in just a second. Oh, this is another octave below, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting in that way, and that might be cool to automate as well. Let's go ahead and take Glurk's suggestion and see if we can macro anything on here. No, we can't. So you can't, there's no values that you can kind of like latch that to, unfortunately. Although there is a matrix on here, so maybe we can go to source macro 1. Nope. So you can only do stuff that's regarding the macros, the key, the pitch bend, envelope following, and the formula aspect. So there is that. Okay, well, that's all right. Yeah, but it is still cool, and at the very least you can mess with like the dry wet on there, so there's some stuff to be kind of had there. Now on the reverb, we've got both a basic reverb, which is kind of thick, if anything kind of digital, but it's okay. Actually, that sounds huge now, so that's really cool. And then what's also cool is we've got an impulse response verb, which is like, it is a convolution reverb, but it's so basic that it's more of just a convolver, if anything. Wait, I saw in warp on the right part of the matrix it had a drop down. Oh, okay, let's take a look. add. Is that what you're talking about? Here's everything here. Multiplied source. Okay, so here's the target aspect of that. Let's go back to that other thing and see if we can... We'll put this on hold for just a second. And I think if you shift click... Oh no, if you option click, then it will duplicate it. What about shift click? Command click. Okay, command click deactivates that. So there's that. Let's go back to the warp. This is a signal split now, and then we'll go into the matrix. Add, boom, warp, amount. Okay, I think that, yeah, the amount is just the dry wet, so that's all that you can do. But yeah, I'm disappointed too. That would have been cool if you could do more stuff with that. But what can you say? Again, I think that just give me a little bit more patience, and I'll talk about it in just a second, because I just want to, as going through this stuff, I just want to be sure. So you can right click to load a sample. There's a few of these on here, so we'll just go into church. You can reverse, you can normalize, you can unreverse, and then you can pick how much of the sample that you want to do. It looks like this is only from start to the end, so you can't get in between this and do both, but it's got a little bit of pre-delay, and then it's got a dry wet. So and then you can set this to have, I guess, a pre-delay on that sense, but again, it's not really like a convolution. No worries. Yeah, and again, it's good, and that's why anytime I do a review, I always do a stream over it first, because I never somebody might have this and might be able to help me out, but two, there might be something that you see that you can point out, maybe they'll add that option in upcoming updates. Yeah. And again, it's not as crazy as we might want this to be, especially because of how spoiled we've become with multipass. But I also think that this was designed for people that are doing more purposeful things, as opposed to do crazy modulation, and I'll show you why in just a second. But yeah, I mean, the convolution works, and you can stack that with other reverb or delay or something, which is cool. But again, I'm kind of choosy with this stuff, because you're limited to only 8 effects, especially or 7 if you're doing some kind of signal split, right? But yeah. So, and then yeah, you've got your analyzer. So this has 80 effects built into it, and it's got a lot of effects that something like Kilohearts Multipass and Snap Heap do not have, which is cool. The drawback to that is that it's not as intuitive, and you are limited to how many effects you can have. So, you know what I mean? You got to take with it what you can. I would also say that the presets on here are very limited. There's only a handful. I'd say that maybe there's 100 presets on here tops, and I'm not gonna go through all of them and stuff, but it does paint a good picture about what kind of stuff this was designed for. So take a look at I guess just a few of these. So spaceship, bridge. Okay, I'm not pressing anything, and this is already going, right? So this is kind of creating a generator on its own. That's not really doing anything. That's just a couple of different options for a simple thing. There's that. That's creating some stuff. Hey cat, what you doing up so late? I'm working. Frequency distortion. So there's that aspect. You can see that for the most part, most of these effects are very kind of linear and basic in that way. And so it's meant to create a multi effect that does one multi effect, or that becomes one single effect, right? Does that make sense? Especially if you look at some of the, where was that? There was one that was all, yeah. So if you look at some of the generator presets on here, and you load those up, I'm not pressing anything. That's doing its own thing. That's doing its own thing. And again, all of these are kind of just like being their own thing in that way. And so I really think that this wasn't designed for people that are really into music. I think that this was designed for more of like cinematic type stuff. And that's not a bad thing. And the most important thing is that, like, while this is a pricey piece of software, you are still getting 80 effects, and some of these are really good on their own. It's just that it's kind of hard to sell the value when like it doesn't have like really cool visual appeal for one, and two, you're kind of limited on, you know, how many effects and stuff that you can really do. And the routing can get like somewhat interesting or somewhat like, yeah, it's 350. But again, if you take a look at Boom Library or something, like you can kind of check out their stuff and kind of see what, I don't know if I did the right thing. Oh, I did. Okay. You can kind of see that like most of their stuff, look, Valve, YouTube, Marvel, Dolby, Nintendo, Blizzard, Hasbro, you don't have those, you know, producer testimonials, credits, blog, products. This is all like stuff that's designed to be used for like in-game things or be applied in that way. And so it's not really meant to be like the super crazy, like experimental stuff that you might be coming to my channel for. Hey, Jasname. Doors, Urban Europe, Winter, Sci-Fi Elements, Room Tones USA, Cinematic Strikes, Geothermal. So you can kind of see that, like, yeah, I think that said that. Yeah, Hasbro, Netflix, DICE, EA, Rovio, LucasArts, Epic Games, BioWare. Wow, these guys have a great track record. Holy cow, look at this stuff. Low Interactive, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Konami, Microsoft, Native Instruments, Rockstar. I don't know who Royal Shakespeare Company is, but they seem important. Say Institute, Sega, Universal, Valve, YouTube. Okay, now it's starting to kind of recreate. So you see, like, this stuff is like industry standard things that is very focused on. Boom Library is literally the best sound design company out there. That was very, very adamant in that way. But yeah, so like you can definitely tell that like this isn't really like, this isn't catering towards, you know, the geeky bedroom producer person. This is very centered towards like creating something that is very specific in that way. And it's important to say so. And I can even exemplify this even more through the screenshot that I took of the manual, which I thought was actually kind of funny. Do not use what you don't know. You won't eat a plant that you aren't sure whether it's safe to eat. Luckily, we have the undo function, but to avoid nasty feedback loops or digital clipping, it's recommended not to use certain functions of the range when you're not sure what they're supposed to do. That is why you have this manual anyways. So, well, you know, that's kind of like a two-sided thing. On one end, I think that they're trying to, you know, be protective and stuff of being like, hey guys, like don't, you know, blow your ears out. But at the same time, I would say that you should be experimenting, except just use a limiter. So that way, if you do get nasty feedback loops and all that other stuff, then yes, you'll be okay. Which is fine. That's BS. I'm going to touch it anyways. Professional music producer program. Yeah, so I think that this is really catered towards like the cinematic or game design and like aspects of that, and that's totally fine. And I think that is something that they're definitely not trying to be the end all be all musical multi effect. And it's really important to kind of make that point because you can just tell. I do know sometimes the stuff designed for game or music development are good for sound design and music at times. I really love Soundmorph Timeflux. Yeah, and that's kind of what's important too, is that for one, like the effects and stuff for the most part are like of good quality, but I think that in order to get the most out of Enrage, especially for people like Glork, like myself, who else does like super experimental stuff like Data Broth, and any of you guys out there that might be into like doing the generator stuff, it's really important to know that like you might have to just nudge it a bit in order to get more stuff out of it. It's not going to be as convenient as, you know, say like multipass or something. And it's really hard because you can't really describe a multi-effect anymore without mentioning multipass or snappy, especially because of how easy it is to use, right? But at the same time, right, like even just having the ability to have a multi-effect or even multi-band wave shaper that's different than, say, like trash or something, or having the ability to have like a multi-band distortion that has like its own instance of distortion plus delay plus something, and you've got that across a wide range of things. I think that has a lot of potential in its own right. And then, you know, granted, you use that as a static effect or something, and then you start to apply that through, you know, something like multipass for the generative aspects and stuff. That does seem like it has a very good use case. I'm not impressed by TimeFlux, to be honest, but not saying it's worthless. Look at the Turbine VST boom library. It recreates actual jets and plane sounds that pass by engine sounds that you'd hear in a movie. Yeah, so, you know, and I've seen a few different things like that. There's also like the Krotos or Kroto or something like that that makes those kinds of things. Like, that's cool. Man, I haven't visited your stream in a while, but you're kicking ass at it, man. Great work. Thanks, dude. I'm just trying to make interesting content that we can all vibe with, or also like bring up the opportunity for conversations and look at different things in that way. So yeah, I guess like as far as looking at like how to get into like super in-depth modulation and stuff, if we were to start adding randomizers on here, I think what I'm going to do is just grab maybe a few of these, because something that I'm interested in is seeing like if you can modulate modulators, which is kind of like a big deal for us. Hey, you grabbed Enrage. Hell yeah. You talk a lot more confidently than you used to a year ago or so. Yeah, Krotos, monsters. Hey, you grabbed Enrage. Hell yeah. They sent me an NFR data, but I'm glad that you're here. Because I was just talking about you. Talking all the shit. No, not at all. It was more of like, I feel like you would know this plugin much better than I do. But yeah, so if you go into this and you randomize this, which is kind of cool. What if I wanted to randomize the randomizer? Okay, so you can't. So that takes precedence. So unfortunately, you can't do like randomization to, or you can't modulate modulators. Yeah, nice. I know a bit. Made some presets for it. Synaptic. If you guys like Krotos, then maybe check out Synaptic plugins. Or maybe you can. Let's see. Let's go into the matrix and see if we can actually do the thing. So can I LFO to... Oh, you can. Okay, you just have to do it in the modulation thing. So if you go here to LFO, you can do it by both the rate and the depth. So you can do it that way. You just have to kind of... the workflow that you do is a little bit different than what I think most of us would be used to. So you can do it this way via the matrix, but what I would probably do is just go here, right, and grab this and then go to the depth in that way. So you can modulate a modulator, and then you have your source modulator. Wow. That is overarching this in general. So yeah, you can modulate a modulator, and that's cool because that's really important for people like me that like to do crazy different things that are going to dramatically change the sound in unpredictable ways. So if that's modulating that, then you can see that there's this aspect, but the workflow behind it is kind of just, again, a little bit strange in that world. Hey, wow guy. Okay, so now I think that I want to modulate this. Okay, cool. So you can do that. So you just drag it to the little open empty circle. So I haven't checked Krotos, but I can't do Synaptic because their stuff uses so much CPU. So maybe with something like that, now we can try to modulate, you know, like a grain delay or something on top of this and see what happens from there. Now, can I get rid of this, or does it have to be on at all times? Remove. Oh, you can. Okay, great. So we'll take this and we'll go to the dry wet and turn that up both ways. And then we'll turn the bipolar off and turn that all the way there. And then we can do something like another one because reasons. You guys know how I work with randoms. But this one will be a sample and hold. And then we'll set that to DAW sync. And then this one we'll use to change the pitch. I don't know about Gary's mod. So yeah, that's kind of cool. This isn't really like moving in the way that I thought that it would, but maybe that's just kind of because it's its own thing. But maybe I can move over this way and start to do stuff kind of like that and turn up the max delay. So the min max values is pretty much something that's almost on every effect as well. So that's kind of cool too. Respace moment. I think what I'm going to do as well is make all of these random sample and hold, so that way they're all kind of, there we go. That way it's going to jump a little bit more. And pitch mod seems weird. It is, yeah, well the grain delay is weird. That's what this is supposed to be doing. But maybe what we can do is change this into like ping pong or something, and then we'll switch that up. Change this as well. And then maybe we can also grab the feedback. Data, do you know if there's like how many mods you can assign like an LFO to? Like, is there a certain amount? The grain delay is unique. I don't know quite how to describe it, but it's not typical. 12. So that's not terrible, but you know, not typical grain delay. Tell me more. So we'll do that, and then let's see if we can throw this into something else. And again, like if you're only doing linear stuff, then you pretty much have anywhere from 8 or less effects to kind of sort through. So keep that in mind. Let's see if we can do some kind of... What I would like is, it's also kind of weird that there's no notch filter. I mean, there technically is, because if you use a parametric EQ, then you can do just like a reverse bell curve. But it's kind of weird that there's no dedicated notch. And so this definitely isn't something that you want to reach for if you want to do like interesting, like cool like filter effects and stuff. But maybe we can throw that into some light wave shaping. And this is important to note too, that this is quadrant based. So this is like negative wave shaping, and this won't even do anything unless if you're messing with it in this way. So hold on one second. Let's pull that up. And maybe we can throw that through here. Kind of cool. I love warp. That's what really sold me on Enrage. Okay, I'm gonna move this over to the grain delay, and the reason why is because this is a consistent pitch, so pushing it into the grain delay is hopefully gonna switch that around. It sucks that you can't audit. I know, man. How cool would that be? Okay, so now we'll grab another one over here. Set that to sample and hold. And then we'll set that one to DAW sync. So this is on DAW sync, but shouldn't this be like an actual beat division mode, or what's going on with that? I guess it doesn't do that if it's randomized, but okay, that's fine. I want it, but that means putting a whole week's rent on it. Not rent, pay week. M transformer stays winning. Oh, awesome. Thanks. You can automate the shape. This Melda's more in-depth take on the warp module. Oh, that's sick. I didn't know that you could do that. So maybe we can stack this with a different kind of delay, like a shift delay or so. Let's see what that does. Edit frequency shift. That's pretty cool for like pitching and whipping and stuff. Let's try the repeater. And then it seems like there's some trigger aspect on this. Yeah, definitely. Still interesting though. Can you modulate both the frequency shift and delay time with that one? Which one? The repeater or the pitch shifter? Was it this one that you're looking at? So can you do both? I don't know. Let's find out. I don't know if it's going to let you do both in between, but we can try. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream Chat. Yay! Okay, I don't know why you're telling me that, but alright. I don't give a damn. Okay. Yes, you can, Glurk. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can see that these are both being automated in that way, and I guess if we were to look at the matrix, then you can see that you would go to the repeater, then you've got your duration, and then you've got your frequency. So yeah, so you can. Not on the repeater, but on the shift delay. Okay, hold on one second. Yeah, from the looks of things, that's actually kind of cool. From the looks of things, it seems like you just click this button to edit this, and then this is just like a toggle tab, so it doesn't just turn it on. It kind of toggles between those two modes. So let's do that one. Let's go here and let's grab this one. Now it would be kind of nice to see if there was like a thing or so that would kind of indicate like how many uses or like how many times you've used that modulator, especially since you can only assign up to 12. But it's not a deal breaker. I can't make good sub basses no matter how hard I try. Sine wave, small amount of distortion. You should be good to go. No, I was wrong. You can assign more. Oh, okay. Also, hi, Susan. How many mod sources, you mean? Is that what you meant? Like you can only have up to 12 mod sources? That just sounds like a jumbled mess. I was going to ask you something. I can't remember what I was going to ask. Let me think about it for a hot sec. Well, I can also say that at like worst case scenario, one thing that I do like is that it's got an inherent dry wet knob, which is good because as of now, version 1.8.5 of multipass and snap heap don't have that. And there is a workaround behind it, but it's kind of frustrating. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. So there's no routing options on this to where you can have more effects, right? Yeah, I did try the splash filter. I couldn't get it to work that well. But there's no like connector, right? To where like you can stack more effects on this. Or am I, or did I miss that in the manual? And that would also be cool if you could multi-select, but it doesn't seem like you can. They show the dry wet and multipass off in the barbecue stream. I know, but that's why I was saying just in the 1.8 patch. In the 2.0 patch for that stuff, I'm really excited about that. And you can only do more parallel or multiband. Okay, cool. I just wanted to confirm that. Because that would be cool if there was some kind of thing to link that. But I didn't want to say that out loud in case if I missed something. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a look at Enrage. I think that it's pretty cool. And I think that just as far as being like a static effect or doing basic movement, I think that it has a lot of potential. But it's not quite where I would personally want it to be yet. In order for me to be like, this is going to become a staple in my sound design, it's definitely like, it definitely has potential, and I can definitely see certain use cases to where I would pick this over multipass. But for the kind of generators and stuff that this channel has become known for, because I would say that's pretty much like what it started off as. Like, what was my first video? My first video was drums, and then I did the neuro-based stuff, and then it was all about generators and all that. But anyways, yeah, this wouldn't be my go-to thing for generators and stuff, but the effects are strong enough that it does have like some weight on it. It is cool that you do have oversampling options as well to kind of preserve the quality, but I do think that this needs some graphical user interface and quality of life improvements in order to make this like a freaking beast. But I definitely think it's on the right track. I just don't know if it's quite ready just yet. There was something else that I was going to ask as well. Can you make a vid or tell me what your favorite synths are? I can tell you that my favorite synth is Faceplant. That's pretty much the only thing that I ever use anymore. It's very powerful and has some unique features. It also has internal oscillators that you can use and MIDI note control. Yeah, I saw that, and I was actually trying to use that for the ring mod, but I couldn't figure out how to get that to work. And then also I tried to do the sidechain in for the vocoder, but I couldn't get that to work either. I thought that you would do like an audio in on Enrage and then feed it into something else. I think this needs like a great deal, something like 75% off. Only phase plant, lol. I mean, dude, like phase plant is so complete that it literally is the closest thing to being like the ultimate synth. It just needs maybe like one or two more things, and it's literally knocking everything else off the market. But for you, Susan, if you're looking for something good, I would definitely look at Vital. One, because it's free, but two, because it's very easy to use. I think them being industry standard makes their stuff a bit overpricey. Okay, yes. Yeah, and that's definitely like, it's definitely something to consider. I have no good effect plugin or saturators. What DAW are you using? So consider this, right? Now, this is not multipass. It's not kilohearts. But how much money would you spend if you were to buy each of these effects on their own, right? Some of them you would definitely overlook. Like, come on, everybody's got a multi-filter. Everyone has access to a parametric EQ that is better. But what about a splash filter, or a valve filter, or a wave shaper? You know, maybe you have FL and you've already got a wave shaper. Okay, fine. Maybe, you know, a convolution reverb. And then how much money would you spend on placing all of that stuff within, you know, a single interface that you can use without having to pull up other multiple plugins or like preset dive, right? So, and then also, like, you have to consider that there's this work environment that allows you to have them interact with each other in a way that you can modulate them. FL, oh, Susan, what? You've got everything that you need. FL has a Fruity Wave Shaper. Do you have a plugin? I mean this in the nicest way, but I'm going to assume that you're new to music, to which, if you have like the full version of FL Studio, you have so many amazing tools that you really don't need anything else, to be honest. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Yoku. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, so that is right. Like, I think that does pose like an honest question. And then the other thing too is, like, you also have to consider, like, if you were to buy multipass on its own and purchase all of the effects as a bundle, obviously it would be cheaper than $500, but how much would it cost you to get all of the effects without phase plant? Because Snap Heap is free, but how much money would it cost you in order to kind of like fill in those voids? And then you also have to look at what is kilohearts offer versus what does Enrage offer versus, you know, what does some other multi effects offer, because you've got other stuff from like Sugar Bytes that are multi effects, right? Maybe he means, I think it's you think they mean if you developed a plugin? No, I have no personal developed plugins. I'm not a plugin developer. I'm just a geek that likes to destroy sound. That is literally the basis of how I make music these days, is just wrecking sound and then putting the aftermath garbage together. It's a lot of fun though. FL is great. I've made so many songs using only the default plugins. Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff on that if you're an FL user. Like, what do we got? 3X Oscillator is a great way to start. Citrus, Harmer. What else is good? I'm at a loss here. Sakura, I've heard some good sounds from Sakura. That's like a string instrument, right? FL has great stock and plugins for sure. Yeah, I would actually argue that like my favorite effects, or my favorite like plugins, first party plugins, are from FL, especially because they look so nice. So I think that you're definitely Maximus. Yeah, I'm really jealous at FL users for that plugin alone. I've had a huge spiel on that whole essence. So, 3X Oscillator is a beast too. You can do some really nice modulation automation with Patcher. Yeah, I would want to say that like that's probably down the line for them. We'll just say them. But as far as like just getting great sounds and stuff and just using a plugin alone, like you can do so much with Citrus and Harmer. You can do quite a bit with 3X Oscillator as well. I'm trying to think about what other synthesizers are there. Okay, thank you. I got to mess around with all these. Yeah, dude, you've got so much to get into. And unfortunately, like, I'm not an FL Studio user, but a lot of people in my chat are. So what I would do is encourage you to hop in the Discord and then just go into music production and like maybe find some specific questions that you have. Maybe Nor for Mac, maybe not for Mac, not sure. Yeah, they don't sell Maximus for Mac. You have to get it as FL, and like they don't sell the third-party version anymore either, except for like on Plugin Boutique. So I'm pretty salty at FL for that. That makes me really upset because I have money that I'm waiting to throw at them, and they refuse. Actually, I think that they could make a killing off of selling their plugins for Mac. Right, I think I remembered something like that. Yeah, there's maybe like 2 plugins that are compatible for Mac, and they're like not good. There's like what, Poison, and what's that other one, like Toxic, or I don't know. It's something I'm not interested in the slightest. So there's that. So yeah, does anybody have any questions regarding the Enrage plugin? Or like, would you like to see me try anything? Citrus and Harmon are really amazing, but their VSTs aren't supported anymore. Yeah, what the heck? Why? Why would you do that? Like, that's like some of your strongest lineup. That's like saying that they're not going to support Operator anymore. It's like, wait, what? Harmor is noise. Bruh. What were your favorite things about Enrage? The wave shaper. I think that was like the number one thing that I was like, yes, because like Kilohearts desperately needs this. Not desperately, but I really want them to have a wave shaper. And the fact that you've got a multi-effect tool that has a wave shaper in it is great. So the wave shaper is definitely my favorite thing about this. I think that some of the delay modules are really cool. The warp, the warp feature is really cool, if a little bit limited. Yeah, those are definitely like my main highlights for this. I think that like there's a bunch of like unique effects between this that makes it stand out, I guess. And it's not like necessarily even like one specific thing, but there are enough cool things for me to mess with in the future and like the time to come that I would like to explore or expand upon, especially for doing like experimental sound design. But I don't know, like it's not like a love-hate type thing. It's definitely kind of like a, well, I wish that you would add this, or I wish that you would do this. But it's almost like I almost feel like I'm staring at like a child of something, or like an infancy of something. And I hope that's not like a disrespectful thing towards the developers. I just see so much more room for improvement that I hope that they take advantage of, because they could really bridge the gap between catering towards, I guess, like cinematic or interactive media and music producers, right? Because like they're not necessarily the same thing. Just because you're a sound designer for games doesn't mean that you're a music producer, or that you're a sound designer for musical aspects. And so, you know, that's definitely not like it's not like a disrespectful knock between Enrage or so, but I definitely do see that there's a lot of stuff that can be improved on. But that's a good thing, because that means that, you know, they've got their work cut out for them, and everything that you have here should be improved. I believe they have more they want to add. I don't know how much of the UI they'll change, but at least more effects on the way, I believe. And that could be cool. And I guess like one thing to consider too is like whether or not that's going to be something that you're going to have to pay for, or if that's going to be a free update. But I think probably their biggest con about Enrage is actually their user interface, because it's kind of clunky, and a little bit archaic in that way. And I think that they've got an opportunity to do some really cool stuff with this, of kind of just updating the user interface, of like making this look interesting, right? Because again, this is just a bunch of knobs, and it's kind of weird because it almost seems like they're in this like cascade of like, are you trying to be analog or are you trying to be digital? And yeah, I think this is aimed at sound designers and production studios rather than producers and musicians. Yeah, I think so too. But does it mean that it produces bad sound? No. Does it mean that it's useless? Absolutely not. Because I think that with enough time, you could really get down and dirty in this and make something that's very unique in comparison to something like multipass because of the limitations. I feel like Enrage's UI is very good, but not like 2021 level good. I don't. Oh, okay, so like even if they just added those quality of life things to where, like if you right clicked, you could replace these, right, with different modules, and that they didn't have this device list that you had to do from a drop down menu, and in order to place it, you have to do a drag and drop. Being able to highlight this and push delete, right? Like that's a simple thing that I think they could add in order to make that user experience much more friendly, because it's in a right click means in order to be able to remove those things. So UI needs to communicate what it does. IMO, you shouldn't have to read anything to get the most of the gist. Well, that's kind of unfair, right? That's kind of unfair because that's like saying that you should be able to look at any program and immediately know what to do. And for me, like I can respect a learning curve between having something to get into, right? Of just not being a seasoned sound designer or veteran or whatever and being like, I need to figure this out. Resizable vector base would be nice in 2021. Yeah, so like that's really my biggest complaint with this stuff is really just like the user interaction or the user experience and then also the graphical user interface. But as far as like the sounds and stuff that it could replicate, I do think that could be, I do think that it has powerful tools in which to do so. But for me personally, just because of that and the way that this is all lined out, I wouldn't try to go as crazy or in depth as I can to try to create like the most insane sound or generator or something that I possibly can, just because it doesn't really encourage that. And while you can do that and you can like super abuse this, I think that this is like almost like subtle multipass or subtle snap heap, or you know what I mean, something along that line, especially because you can only have so many effects in a serial chain anyways. Yeah, that should be a standard. A lot of plugins are just a bunch of knobs. Yes, but okay, so I don't know how old you are, Yoku, and that doesn't matter, and I also don't know like how seasoned of a producer you are, but the difference between having to learn Massive versus learning Serum was like a whole different world. It was completely different. The ease of use of Serum compared to the confusing just knobs of Massive, I feel like made my sound design so much more difficult for the first 2 years, because for the first 2 years I did use Massive. And Massive doesn't have anything visual other than the envelope and the performer, or like those modules, or I guess like the modulators, I guess, in some case or another. Melda LOL, what did you, I don't, what did you feel like Massive was easy to learn? Because I definitely would disagree. Once I got Vital, my sound design game shot way up just because of the ease of use. And I'm guessing that you didn't have Serum from before, but yeah, like, and those two are very similar anyways, but it's very easy to figure out what to do. I don't feel that way at all. I feel like Serum was, I just felt like Serum was better capability wise. Well, with Serum, you could see the waveform for one, right? You could see a lot of what was happening. Even the filters had shapes. The distortion had shapes. The multi-stage envelopes had shapes that you could see what was happening. There was a visual aspect to it that you are able to literally make the connection between what you hear and what you see. And I feel like that's an ever increasing like feature that I tend to value just as much as the sound that it can produce. As a hobbyist, I never felt the need to buy Serum. Yeah, that makes sense. And Vital is free. But yeah, so, you know, you got Vital and you there was that visual aspect to it, so you could see what was happening. You need to see what you're doing and how it affects the sound. A lot of adjustments are super subtle and don't make a lot of sense until you learn to visualize it. Yeah, like, okay, so when I first got into sound design, like, I didn't know what a saw wave was. I didn't know what a square wave was. I just saw a label. Or even like, you know, looking at some of the more complex wavetables that Massive had, like Modern Talking or Kangaroo or, you know, all those other things, like, I just thought that it was just a sound, and I didn't know what any of that stuff meant. But all of those have wavetables. All of those have visual shapes. And so having the ability to see that stuff now, for one, you can use that as a reference in order to create something like that. But two, it really helps you build that connection about like what it is that you're looking at. Another example would be like Massive's phase modulation, right? Like, I didn't know what it was doing to the sound. I could hear it, but what was it doing? What was the significance of it? And then it had like these numbers and stuff like between 1 and 2 that you didn't even really like make that initial connection. Like, yes, of course, to people that have used it for a lot, they're like, oh, I see. It makes sense that, you know, it's either going to oscillator 1 or oscillator 2. But it didn't, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't like intuitive in that sense. The sample and hold, you had no idea what that was doing. The feedback, you had no idea what that was doing. The tube distortion, hard to tell, right? So within that stuff, like you just kind of accepted what it was. And that's kind of like the problem, or that was the problem between like knowing what to do and not knowing what to do, right? I like Pigments when it comes to showing sound design. It's the most visual of them all. Then there's Falcon, which I love, but it's almost the exact opposite. Yeah, dude, don't get me started on Falcon. Hold on, guys. I gotta let my brother in the house. He just got home, so give me 1 second. Massive almost follows traditional synthesizer design language, but I'd argue you got to go even further than that. Designing a UI, you should put controls on the part of visual that they have effect on in a way that communicates what it does. I think it depends, you know, and there's some stuff that like if it's so simple it doesn't need to have the visualization, but I do think that it should like make a dramatic difference and change of the sound, so you at least have that, right? A good example would be kilohertz phase distortion. Like it's kind of subtle, and like phase distortion in itself is kind of like an oddball and how it applies distortion and what it actually does to the sound. But because there's no visual, like you don't really know what it's doing other than it's supposed to be distorting, right? I guess I just mostly learned the actual things Massive did. Serum came out, so most of what I gained was actual features versus UI, but you're kind of right. Well, like, no, and there's definitely something to be said. Like, I definitely see your point too, right? Of being like, read the manual, you know? But accessibility wise, that's, I think, where that's like the point that I'm getting at. So like, no, I'm definitely not dismissing the fact that anybody that's serious about sound design should read the manual and should look into what those things do and should pay attention to what that specific knob does. But it doesn't, but again, that's not a user-friendly thing. That's a discipline thing, right? Because if you're disciplined, then you're going to read about it. Then you're going to look up what a saw wave looks like, or, you know, but I just remember not knowing anything about sound design. That also gets harder when a manual is garbage. I can't really think of any manuals that are terrible. If you have some specifics in mind, then feel free to type that in the chat, but I don't really know in particular. But yeah, so yeah, there is that aspect, but it's almost like two different things. And for me, like if I were to design a plugin, new ones suck. Old NI manuals were actually good. New ones suck. Yeah, well, now it's a YouTube tutorial, right? Now nobody even looks at the manual. They just go watch a YouTube thing and be like, okay, I want to watch this and know how to do everything. Form's manual sucks. I need to spend more time in Form, to be honest. And this manual was okay. Like, it gave me the feature set and it answered a lot of the questions that I had, but it's not like, you know, so specific that it's like, okay, well, a grain delay is this, 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 and this. Now that you know that, let's go ahead and look at how you can change the parameters and stuff of said grain delay. It's kind of just like a summary and being like, we've got this. We've got a grain delay. So my gold standard for software manuals has to be FL Studio. Same. I don't think I've ever read the manual from FL Studio, but I imagine that would be somewhat of a headache from how many different tabs they have. But if you're an FL guy, then you're an FL guy, and you either love it or you vibe with it or you don't. UHE manuals are great too. I'm trying to think of like how many manuals I've actually read. I read Bitwig's manual, but that's because I did that whole like, here is everything about Bitwig. I did not read Phaseplant's manual. Phaseplant's manual was just Phaseplant is the kind of thing that's just so easy to figure out because of how modular it is, right? Like you can just pull up one effect and then change it and be like, oh, that's what that does. At least to like get started. Bitwig's manual wasn't as good as Reason's manual. Hi, Killian. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how people choose to digest information now these days. I think I read through Vacuum Pro by Air Music. Also, God help you if you need to go through Cakewalk's manual. That's pretty funny. I hope that I never have to touch Cakewalk. Did they discontinue their Zeta plugin? Hi, Alckemy. I would have read the Phaseplant manual if I hadn't been testing it, but I don't even feel like I'd need to. Yeah, like it was so intuitive to figure things out. And to figure out how to do like cross modulation and stuff, and like just having the plus button of being like, oh, plus this, oh, that changes that, was very easy to figure out in that way. And I think that with the new update, they've made it even easier because now they let you see via a dashed line of where your modulation is going. Whereas this, like, this is okay. I definitely think that this is passable because this says this is being modulated by modulator 2, right? So, like, that's fine. But, again, it's just those quality of life things that I'm coming to, like, not necessarily expect, but hope for, especially when I'm thinking about making an investment in an audio product. Audio piece of software, rather. I think that's what I should have said. There's no vital manual, but I don't even need one. Yeah, I think that, like, if you know Serum, then there's maybe just a few things to learn about vital. Well, the mod remapping, actually, I think could use some instruction. I just threw myself at FL until everything clicked. No tutorial, no nothing. It took a really long time, but I know the software pretty damn well. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if I read the manual for Ableton or not, or Machine, and I don't think I did. One thing I would like to see an improvement on in both Serum and Vital, or similar sense in the way as mod matrices, the way that mod matrices are shown. Yeah, I definitely am not a fan of matrices. Because just looking at a bunch of menus and then having to track stuff down and being like, you know, even with this, like, it is good that it exists, but of being like, okay, which one's the LFO? Okay, which LFO? I'm guessing this is LFO1, and then changing the depth and stuff. Like, that's not very fun. It works, but it's not very fun. I never really seen a good mod matrix. I don't think I have either. I can't think of anything in general, because literally it's just a grid. It's a grid of information and names. I've looked things up in the Cubase manual for sure, but reading the entire manual, no way. You know what might be worth reading a manual over is Max for Live. Like, I think that could be incredibly beneficial, but I think that would be such a dry read with how complicated that likely is. I like Vitals because I do love the way it selects the last updated modulation in the remap. So that's cool. Like the last thing that you select, it'll pull up to the top. Like that's, again, quality of life things that can make that a little bit easier. I like having a mod matrix available though. It's useful for tracking down specific things sometimes. See, like, I don't know, like, okay, so like people really wanted a mod matrix in phase plant, right? But like if you pull phase plant up, it's really neat that if you have something that's modulated, right? Okay, it doesn't tell you where it is, but it'll flash. Like that's super useful. It's saying, hey, where is this going? Oh, look, you just look up a little bit and it's like, oh, there's the cutoff, right? And you know that this is going to be easy to find because this can only modulate stuff on this specific tab. So like you can't pull up an instance of multipass or something and then just directly modulate this from here. You have to map it to a macro, which you can do, which is fine. But then again, it's a lot easier to find and explore in that way. So for me, like, it's really easy to track things down. Oh, where is this supposed to go? Oh, look, now that's flashing. Now I know where that is. So, but what do you want it to be like, Austin? My one suggestion of Vital in the early beta was LFO, LFO looping. What do you mean by that? But yeah, like, this is such a, and now that the new update with this is going to like have like that dotted line to where it will actually like point you in the direction of where it's supposed to go. Like I don't really see any reason for there to be a mod matrix other than like maybe having some kind of multi-stage envelope or something for mod remapping in itself, right? So like maybe let's say you're modulating a modular value of this, and then you want to do mod remapping to this, which they're already, I think they're already addressing. I don't remember whether or not they are. I think they are. But, you know, having something like this or having another window pull up to where you can do like a multiple shape thing or something could be good. But again, I don't know. I think that's just a preference thing. Oh, like looping points where you can set different loop points versus just the start of the loop. Pigments hasn't gotten a real mod matrix, but you can quickly check what modulation upcoming things are similar. Maybe just a mod matrix is just a bad solution. Yes, that was my suggestion. LOL. Yeah, well, the thing with pigments is that makes it like, it's cool, but it's also kind of weird because you've got like every single modulator laid out this way. And it's like, why? Is that really necessary to have every single one laid out via color? And it is cool, right? Because like the color coding does help, I feel. And again, I'm very visually oriented, especially towards things that are colorful. But at the same time, I'm also kind of like, is that does seem kind of overkill to have every single thing out there like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think that regarding this in particular, I do think that this is something that can be useful, and I think that the more time that I spend with it, I'll probably like it more. But I can already point out the things that I wish that this had that it would do, that currently is not doing what I want it to. I like having different systems to play with. I'm glad almost every synth and plugin does things differently. Yeah, and there's something to be said about that too, but I think that like half of that battle is with the interface, right? And not even necessarily like with the workflow environment that it introduces. I think that really it's just like how you look at these things, for one. The nice thing about a mod matrix is you can assign all stuff on one modulator to the new modulator, but in Faceplant you can make the modulator a flat line and modulate the level. Yeah. And I think that like I'm guessing that some people within Faceplant don't like that there isn't a mod matrix because they think that it's confusing to, you know, to track stuff down, which I can get that. I don't think that it's as complicated as people say. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, you know, think that the term, I think that them being there the whole time is its power. Visually, it might be a bit overkill, but in terms of workflow, it's super efficient. I think that, like, maybe I can see what you mean, but the reason why I disagree is that there's this double-edged sword about it. So on one end, you've got all the modulators there, right? And you can assign them all to different things. But is that really saving you X amount of clicks when you still have to go in and click on the modulator and then adjust the modulator? So, and then not only that, but you've only got a few of each one. So, you know what I mean? There's something to consider. And I guess, like, for you, you know, it seems like you vibe with that. And that's really what's important, is whether or not you like it. Pigments wasn't really for me and what it could do, but that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. You know, it just wasn't for me. Also, I've come to terms that I'll never actually learn how to use something like Citrus, like an FM thing. Are you, dude, like, Citrus is not as complicated as, well, it looks complicated because of the matrix system or whatever, but it's not really that bad. If you look at something like FM4, which is a much watered down version of an FM synth, it's pretty easy. So, like, you've got 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, whatever. So, you know, if you click in the first one, then that means it's going to modulate itself. If you click on the second one of the first part of the grid, that means that oscillator 1 is going to modulate oscillator 2. And then same thing, right? You can have oscillator 2 modulate oscillator 1, and then that's pretty much, like, that's FM matrices. FM matrices are horrible UI and will die on that hill. I don't mind FM8 so much. To be honest, I think FM8 is actually okay. Citrus is great, but the matrix UI is bad, in my honest opinion. I don't think it's that bad. Like, even this, I think that this is pretty standard, right? You just kind of work this way. Let's take a look at FM8. Assuming I have it. I don't have FM8. Okay. Well, I do have FM8, but it's not installed. But we can... Hold on one second. We can pull it up on the internet. Okay, so... I would never use FM8 ever again. That's pretty funny. I mean, I don't think that it's that bad. Like I said, everything kind of works in this, like, diagonal thing, right? So to get it to react to one another, like, and then it's also got intuitive arrows and stuff, so it's not that bad. Hey, Briefer, welcome. FM8 is great, even though the envelopes are kind of annoying to work with. Yeah, I do agree with that. And I would definitely, like, I definitely would wish that you can do some kind of, like, waveform manipulation as opposed to only having a few things to choose from. But that's kind of how Native Instruments does these things, and it really annoys me. Like Massive X, right? Like, how many people skipped Massive X because you couldn't import your own wavetables and it didn't have a wavetable maker? I do realize that FM is possibly one of the most powerful forms of synthesis, but it's so easy to accidentally make bad sounds with it. Yeah, but isn't it also, like, just as easy to make good sounds with it? Yeah, the arrows are why I prefer it to Citrus UI, but otherwise Citrus has better features. Yes, like Citrus, you can actually design your own waveform via harmonics. By the way, what's up, Austin? Or I guess, like, you know, even for you, Gloric, like, if, wait, you're in Bitwig, but where did you come from? What did you use before Bitwig? Were you FL or were you Ableton? I didn't skip Isotope Community Appreciation Bundle. Massive X doesn't exist. Hold on, guys. It sounds like it smells like something's burning. No, I'm in Bitwig and Ableton. Okay, so then like operator, right? Because you can make your own waveforms and stuff, kind of simplified that process and made it really easy to figure out what to do in that sense. Hold on one second, guys. All right, it's all good. Making sure that my brother doesn't burn the house down. Operator is better than FM4. Well, yeah, there's no contest with that. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. I actually don't really. The only synthesizer that I actually like in Bitwig compared to anything else is the sampler. I'll just stick in 3x oscillator and non-distortion for all my sound design needs. That's funny. Operator is great, but I don't really use it anymore because of faceplant, except for simple stuff. Yeah, I guess like we're just talking about like a specific FM synthesizer, right? Hi, Michael. EFM1 is better than FM8. Is EFM1 a Logic? What about phase 4 versus operator? Yeah, it's... Well, the thing about phase 4 is that it's only got a few different like waveforms to choose from, and the like operator immediately becomes more versatile just because you can actually draw in harmonics. And then also like the routing for this isn't very clear, right? About like what goes into what goes into what, which granted, like it is kind of cool that you can kind of like choose your own about what feedback feeds back into what, right? But it is still kind of like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? For any specific FM synth, I pretty much pull up faceplant out. Yeah, same. Well, faceplant is literally the only thing that I use except for sampler. As far as like doing like my intense sound design stuff, like I might pull up something from Contact and do like a simple thing, but as far as like getting down into like deep sound design and all that, there's not really, it's really hard to go back to doing anything else if you're from faceplant. Let's just go back to doing FM and DX7. I haven't seen a DX7 in a long time. Has anyone tried Tangle by Sound Guru? No, I haven't. Sorry, let me yep. Yeah, it's Logic. And it's horrible. Why don't you use Serum? Well, I did use Serum. I've used Serum for 7 years, but it's so like faceplant is just so much better. There really isn't any competition to it. Tangle looks pretty neat. And that doesn't make Serum a bad synth, but it's kind of like showing its age, if that makes sense. And like with Serum, you only have the ability to FM like just a couple of sources. Whereas with faceplant, you have virtually like unlimited. The Tangle. Oh, yikes. Nope. I'm good. It's $20. You usually don't see the word simple and modular synth in the same sentence, but it's got 12 components and a canvas to put them on, hook them up to explore new combinations, cross-pollinations, FM, AM, subtractive, and comb delay synthesis. It's an early access beta and has reduced price. Beta buyers will receive free updates, including all 1-point releases. Contribute to develop and influence the new features. Yeah, I'm good. Not that I hope that you don't... I do hope this does well, but I'm okay. I wish Polymer had at least 2 oscillators. I know it can turn into Polygrid, but I want it to have a good UI to work with. I agree. I think that Polymer can use a lot of work. I think that it's like cool for very basic stuff, but I definitely think that it has has room for improvement. We also need a wavetable designer in Bitwig. And I'm also kind of curious as to why Ableton doesn't as well. Like, that's so strange to me. You can resample wavetables in Serum, though, which is essentially the same thing with multiple operators. Yeah, but the amount of control that you have is way less, right? Because once you resample that, that still takes up either oscillator A or oscillator B. So, like, you technically can, but it also makes going back much less controllable. And not only that, but you can only select between whatever that wavetable is. So like there's a fine amount of control, and that's, to be honest, like that's where like the most important aspect of FM in my opinion is. So instead of just having like, if you're gonna do FM, right? Let's do like a wavetable or something. It's not just It's not just this, right? But it's more of like being able to do stuff like this on such a subtle amount, like this and like this. And this is like where you really get into like the important aspects of doing like really, I guess, like intricate FM, of just being able to adjust these amounts in such a way that's so small that helps build harmonics slowly. Because otherwise, yeah, like you would be right if, in that case. But the art of FM is really in getting down into these very minute details. It's abandonware. I bought it. I've never heard that before. Abandonware. Which guru is still working on dev? Serum is a synth based on wavetables, and I feel like Vital is much better for wavetables in my honest opinion. Tangle is the old dev. Oh, Tangle is the old dev. Is MIA and is mega buggy. Oh, rip. You get a total of 5 possible theoretical operators in Serum. Yeah, so you've got your sub, you've got oscillator A, you've got oscillator B, and then you've got the noise oscillator. So wait, what's the 5th one? Wait, what? What am I missing? What's the 5th one? Versus 6 plus 8 LFOs in Vital. I'm surprised that it's still in beta. I guess it's abandonware. Yeah, it's abandonware. I bought it. Okay. Yeah, I'm caught up. Oh, the wavetable position is the 4th and 5th. Okay, fair. So then technically 6th then, right? When you resample an FM. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. But yeah, so in that sense, like you just have way more control in something like this. And the fact that you can take a piece of this and do, you know, I can bring this to this one, I can have it FM itself, I can have it FM something else that's already FMing this in a cross modular way anyways, then that gives you such a finer means of control and you don't have to resample that. I guess you're right in terms of operators. The LFOs, envelopes, and filters in Serum are much better, I'd say. I mean, like I said, man, like I'm not here to tell you that your opinion is like wrong or anything. It's just I don't feel the same, if that makes sense. I really think that like nobody is messing with Faceplant in terms of sheer like amount of stuff that you can do, unless if you're talking about Faceplant versus like Razor or something. Faceplant versus the grid. I'd go for Faceplant easily. This is really cool, by the way. My DX27s be all software FM synths. Get out, Greedo. The reason why is because in order to achieve, I would also like to VPS Avenger, or give VPS Avenger a shot. The Vital LFOs are much more powerful than Serum IMO. I think that he was comparing Serum to Faceplant, I want to say. FM and phase plant gets confusing fast though. Does it though? It wasn't a question. What do you mean? It wasn't a question. No, I don't think that phase plant and the grid are even like contenders, because they're designed to do very different things. But the thing that you also have to consider is that within the grid, you don't create typical effects, right? You've got a few, but you don't like make like, let me pull this up before I say something stupid, just to be sure. There's a lot of effects that you either can't do in the grid, or that would take like a lot more work to do. Okay, I just want to make sure that there's not like a chorus or phaser in this or something. That's not the same thing. That's with an O, not an E. And then not only that, but you have to build this stuff. And then also like doing complicated FM within this is like also very, I don't want to say tedious, but kind of tedious. I think that like the only way that you can do like true controllable FM is actually if you're using wavetable. I think this is the only thing that actually supports like true FM, I want to say. Or maybe it's PM. I don't remember, but I remember that like you can do FM to any of these, but it's not like controllable in a sense of like being able to do like control the pitch in the way that you want it to. It's kind of like just in a matter of hertz or so, and so it's very confusing to work with. So I just think that they're designed for completely different things. Does that make each one like better than the other? No, but like I said, like I really think that phase plant in its own right is in a league of its own. The ease of use and the sheer amount of effects, and then like how easy it is to create modulation and like do cross modulation is just, there's nothing better, guys. It literally is like almost everything supports PM in the grid. Like technically it does, but the manner of control, right? Like you can't set, it's very difficult to set something to be like 7 semitones or 2 octaves to FM this, which is as controllable as phase plant's phase mod. Well, I'm willing to be wrong, but that was not my experience within the grid. Because as far as I remember, whenever you do like modulation to something, it was, but I prefer phase plant's UI. Okay, hold on. Glork's right. But what if I wanted to do like something crazy where it has like feedback, right? So if I wanted to feedback this into itself, I guess maybe I would have to do like a split or so. And even then, like even if you can theoretically do this, okay, you can't. Or how would I do this if I wanted to do feedback into itself? The ease of use is just not there. It's just not the same. Maybe that goes here instead. You need a delay. Phase 1 has feedback, or you can use a delay module for feedback. So if you wanted to FM, so you're telling me that if I wanted to FM and create like a different sense of feedback, or like have this route into itself, I have to use a delay. This is why I don't get the grid. This is why I don't get this shit. Well, even still, I still have to split the signal, wouldn't I? Okay, how would I do that? You guys get what I'm trying to say? Like if I wanted to FM feedback like into, or FM itself, how would I do that? A long delay? Okay, so that works. Okay, well that's good to know. You guys actually taught me something. But I never would have known that. All feedback has a delay in faceplant. They just do it automatically and hide it from you. That's fine. But, I mean, obviously, like, it's a lot easier to use within faceplant. And then, like, I guess if you wanted to do, like, a custom chorus or something, right? There's a one sample delay in the FM feedback. Like, if you wanted to make, like, your own chorus or something, then you would have to set, like, multiple delay sources and then, like, modulate those in between, which I guess, like, gives you a deeper sense of control. But then you have to add another module to create, like, I guess, a dry-wet mix or something. So, like, in theory, like, there's a lot that you can do within the grid, but you have to know how to break the components down to such a deep level in order to be able to, like, do that stuff, right? There's definitely arguments for things being more granular. Yeah, and so, like, and I see how that can work in both ways, but that still kind of alludes to the same thing, right? Where they're kind of like, there's kind of like, they're meant to achieve different things. I've made plenty of generators in the grid, and it is not as easy to do in faceplant. But if you're talking about like a synthesizer, I guess like maybe Falcon, maybe Contact would be like on par, because this isn't true modular, right? This doesn't have a grid environment to where like you can just do like crazy like chord rerouting and stuff, even though its like initial design is kind of set up to be that way. And you can't make your like quote unquote like your own effects via components. Instead, the components are actually like built-in effects in their own right. But yeah, like I guess with Falcon you could do something similar, even though the workflow of that is absolutely hideous. And then in Contact you can pretty much do that as well. Although does Contact support its own synthesizers? I guess like Reactor maybe. Yeah, maybe Reactor would make more sense. Because that's actually like for synthesis, where Contact is more for like sampler based things. But Falcon, right? Like it's not as robust as like the FM capabilities and stuff aren't nearly as robust as something like faceplant, but like they do cover a wide variety of synthesis options. Contact is mostly a sample engine, but it does support tables now. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is all new stuff. Not new stuff to me, but this is all stuff that I'm not really sure about just because I haven't taken the time to look at those things as in depth. But Reactor would make sense. I think that's more of like actual synthesis building. Doesn't do intermodulation with different oscillator types. And I can also say that like the randomization options and the modulators on Falcon are absolutely abysmal. But Yoko, I was talking about like a non-modular environment. But I can say that like it also supports like scripting and stuff. So there's some other things that it can do that faceplant can't do. But again, that's why I say like it's in a completely different league. It's meant to do something completely different and serve completely different purposes. But if you're talking about like the world of FM in its own right, yeah, I don't know. I can't. No, that's okay. Right. It can't do intermodulation, but it has extensive scripting. So, you know what I mean? Like, it all just kind of comes down to what do you want to do. Has anyone tried Iris 2 Yes, most of us have, I would say, especially since it's always on sale either for free or for $1. And I can say that it's not my favorite. But there's not really many spectral synthesis options unless if you're lucky and have access to Harmer, which I would say, like, if I put Harmer versus Iris, I would definitely go with Harmer. Yeah, Iris is like one of the more insane CPU eaters. One thing I'd like to see opened up is FL Studio's Flex. I'm really curious to see how it is on the back end. Isn't that just a subtractive synth? Or what is Flex? Because that's their newest, like, flagship synthesizer, isn't it? Yo, Rain. What'd you cook?
What?
What'd you cook?
I just heated up that chicken and rice.
Is it on the stove?
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't Flex just a preset machine? A subtractive synth with some cool built-in effects? Like, what effects are built into it? I'm curious. No, I don't think Flex is just a rompler. I think it's more than that. I'm not FL savvy. I'm not either. Apparently it also has wavetable and sample-based things in it. Oh, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's a rompler subtractive synth something. Not Flex. It's not Flex. It's Flux. Let me see. Let's look it up. It's kind of a do-it-all. Do it all. This isn't the whole picture. Envelopes, limiter, analysis. They say that it's a synthesizer. Analysis. I'd like to see if there's another. Where's the other tab at? Because I want to see like what actual other stuff it does. Lol. That's Spire. Maybe their official website has more on the subject. So it's all lockdown presets. It is just presets, but theoretically has a synthesis engine behind it. If there were a do-it-all synth, there wouldn't be so many. So worst of both worlds in a way. Yeah, I was just thinking of a different synth. That's what I'm saying. Oh, so this is all that it is. Well, that's flippin' whack. Why would you do that? That's just disappointing. Although, that's pretty sick. There's actually, speaking of, since we're kind of on that subject, Ghost Spectrogram. Oh, Spectrograph. Whatever. From Blue Lab. Yo, and it's free? Okay. I might have to grab this. I was thinking of GMS. When I think of the acronym GMS, I think of something different. There's no other tab, I don't think, but there's like a hidden synth engine that presets are built in, and you get this UI on the face. It is whack, but I bought all the packs because there's some wicked ass sounds in it. What is VA3? And what's chromophone? I don't know what that is. I would love to see it open up non-specifically selected people. Yeah. Does anybody have anything specific regarding the Enrage plugin? Do you also have Cloud Seed? No, I don't, because it's not Mac supported. Chromophone is physical modeling. That's cool. Wait, you mean that it goes beyond inserting white noise into a specific comb filter? Shit. Enrage makes me mad. GOL was a really great dev with a bunch of bizarre sense of UI, but I'm sad to see him stop working with FL. I don't know who Goal is. Hey, look, it's Richard Devine. Devine. Well, this looks cool. But is this, so this isn't actual, like, this isn't actual physical modeling. It's just like having a choice between, like, specific objects. Or I want to say algorithms. Do they have any other pictures of this? Modeling collection. Let's see. What else you got? Yeah. So that's what that seems like to me. AAS, they made that famous auto mastering software, if I'm correct. AAS, I want to say, has I think they made the AMP plugin for Ableton, right? All of the FL plugins that we love so much, the best plugins ImageLine has. Oh shit. AAS, they made that famous, I don't know if I'm correct. It is actual physical modeling. That isn't the main UI. I don't really want to watch any videos, to be honest. They made Corpus and Collision. Did they not also do I don't think they made AMP. Well, I know that, okay, well, you would know better than I did because I never open Ableton anymore. But I can say that they made some kind of Ableton plugins, which I guess it would be the Corpus and Collision. Yeah, so you've got, I guess, different resonators, and then you've got something that strikes the thing, and then I guess these are the things that, then you have your membranes. Softtube made AMP. Okay, so Softtube made AMP, Cytomic made the glue, AAS made the physical modeling stuff. Wasn't there something else that they made, I want to say? I just can't remember. Oh. And I mean, like, what we're looking at is cool, but I still kind of feel like there's more that you could do with this, you know? Like, I would literally like to see, like, some kind of 3D object that you could shape. But that is probably, like, near impossible to do because, you know, like, actually creating some kind of, like, 3D model inside as a VST or something, and then making that create a sound would actually sounds pretty freaking insane to me. But this does seem cool. It seems like, I guess, as close as you can get without just doing like, you know, custom comb filters and stuff. Or I guess what would be the combination? Because I guess comb filters would be a very rudimentary thing that would only create pipe-like things. But if you, I guess, like did some kind of convolution shaping or something, then that would be another way to do it. I think you need GPU audio processing. Yeah, that's what that sounds like to me. You just said it more elegantly. But that would be really cool, you know, to have something like that instead of just having these different choices to choose from, right? Of these, like you can actually like make a surface area or something. Derailer did something like that, I think. Derailer VST. Physical modeling virtual synth. I love Prism. Is that what we're looking at? Or are you talking about Prism from Reactor? Is that what that's supposed to be? Okay, what the fuck is this? Okay, PA3 Derailer. Metal bars and springs collide in physical modeling virtual synth. That's actually pretty freaking cool. Dwailer is whack, not gonna lie. Okay, well, I wasn't gonna buy it anyways, but this is, maybe it's whack, but at least that's on the right track of what we're talking about, right? Reactor Prism is great. Hate the UI. I never knew that Reactor or that Prism was supposed to be for a physical modeling synthesizer. I thought that it was just a subtractive one. That's crazy. T60 decay times, boundary conditions, output positions, strength. I mean, yeah, this does seem like it's on the right track though, right? Unfortunately, it's only these things and strings, but you know, if you were to start making stuff that had different materials on them and stuff, I guess most likely via convolution, because how would you create like wood or actual metal without having some kind of sample? I don't think that there's an algorithm that can actually like replicate that on a thing that sounds super realistic, or at least not right now. But that is interesting. And when you talk about the idea of physical modeling, right, there's so many like physical things that you would have to describe, and so many like different materials that each have a different sound in their own right. Oops, Prism. Sculpture, I'll take a look at that in just a second. So you've got this modal bank, and is this a physical modeler, or is this an additive synth or an additive engine in this way? Cabinet. Okay, so that's kind of cool. That's important for physical things. Total P, max P, tune, track, spread, random, modulation envelope. It's modal, like an additive resonator. Okay, so I'm not 100% correct, but somewhat. It's not sine waves, it's more just a resonator in its own right. I think Prism is an additive into a comb filter, so both. Interesting. Does Razer have a comb filter? I think it does. Razer. I'm not tech. I'm not necessarily tech either. Oh, it does. So in theory, you could probably do some cool, like, quote unquote physical things with this. That makes me want to revisit some of these. That's interesting. Sculpture VST. Well, it's not an additive into a comb filter. It's a modal bank of resonators. Sorry, Data. You got to speak English, man. How about Kaivo? Oh, God. What the hell is this? Oh, this is Logic. Yeah, so it's got 4 different models of wood, glass, steel, and nylon. That looks like... I can't tell what this is. I can't read that. What the fuck is this? I just don't want people getting the wrong idea of what this stuff does. No, I meant that as in I don't know what that means. So feel free to tell us if you feel like explaining. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this stuff is, but it's just a bunch of labels and all that. It's kind of confusing. Other than I get this. Tension mod. What does that say? Something loss? I can be wrong, like I said. I don't know the tech behind it, just guessing. Yeah, I'm not really worried about being correct on something that I don't know much about anyways, myself. What was I going to look at? Kaivo? Ugh. Modal bank is like additive, but instead of sine waves, each band is a resonator. Well, even a resonator, though, is like... It has some kind of waveform to it, doesn't it? What the hell is this? Okay. Okay, so that looks like it's got some kind of scaling. Then it's got a sequencer. Then it's got an LFO. Then it's got a noise engine. Envelope 1, envelope 2. Okay, so it's based off of granulator, which is kind of cool. Can you load your own sample into it? And then that feeds into a resonator. And then this has some kind of... thing that you can... large wooden box. But what is this based off of? That's what I want to know. Like, what is this algorithm based off of? Not necessarily like math wise, but even when you look at like Corpus or something, right? How they have like different types of surface areas, or membrane wouldn't be... What is the word that I'm looking for? Whenever you have a drum or you have something that you strike, you've got the thing that strikes, and then you have the thing that's being struck, and then you also have the space that's within it. And I don't remember what the terminology of that is called, but that's kind of like the basis of all physical modeling, or most physical modeling, right? I have Madrona Alto similar to Kaivo based off of Buchlasence. Hi, Nilegeist. Also, Nilegeist, I just saw not too long ago a message that you sent to me on SoundCloud, and I'm sorry I didn't get to it until way later. I never look at SoundCloud, so if you ever need to reach out to me, do it through Discord. SoundCloud is like the last thing that I ever look at, just because I'm never on it. Impulse and resonator. Would it be impulse though? And would it be resonator? Because like, I think that resonator would be the air aspect of it, about like what reflections the thing that you hit bounces the waveforms off of. So that would make sense. But the impulse, I thought, is like, yeah, whenever you say impulse, I think about like convolution reverb. But if you look at that, like, the impulse is the result of you striking something, not what is actually being struck and what with, right? Maybe? I don't know. Exciter, resonator, and body. Okay. That seems exciter and material. Okay, that's acceptable. As long as, like, I don't really care about it being, like, you know, the most accurate. It's just a matter of, like, what language can we use to where we know what we're talking, or like what language can we use to where, like, you know, we can all have a discussion and be able to use that together, right? I made a decision with Isotope Bundle instead of Infiltrator, which has Stutter Edit too. Do you think it's a not bad idea? I think the Isotope stuff was pretty cool for $49, but I almost upgraded my Isotope bundle for like the Music Producer edition, but I cannot get Isotope 7 to install on my Mac, and I'm worried that I'm going to run into the same problem. I would 100% go for Infiltrator over SC2 or even the rest of the Isotope bundle, not going to lie. Yeah, for some reason I can't get anything from Ozone from version 7 to install on my computer. And I was like, okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, I'm definitely not going to install any of the newer versions. Kaibo. Would definitely recommend if you haven't tried. IQ Series Reverb 2 is a great convolution reverb. IQ convolution. It looks cool. How much is it? I stopped using Ozone, only care for the imager. Well, that's really what I care about too. That was like one of my most important tools. Hoffa. Sorry, I had to say it like that. Hoffa. Hoffa. Oh, this looks dope. Can you import your own stuff? Test snare. That's sick. It's got 4 different engines. Really? I want to say that Hoffa has a bunch of really cool stuff in general that's free, right? Oh god, no. Holy shit. Pretty expensive, but you can do a fuck ton with it. Yeah, you can import. This is €299, mind you. Note, your image is always a bit shrinked with the width on the streams, like all circles become ovals. Okay, well, I'm on an ultra widescreen monitor, so I'm trying to make 1080p out of whatever the widescreen monitor is, so it's not, sorry. It's just something you're going to have to deal with. And I do think that I fixed that output from 720 to 1080. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm streaming in 1080, so there's nothing I can do. It's OBS. Unless if you want me to try to fit the rest of my monitor all in one, to which it's going to seem even more shrinked. But I think this is fine. Can you import your own IRS? Yes. Dude, for €300, you better be able to. and it's 36% off. It's normally like $600. Yikes. That's scary. This better be able to make me like pancakes or something. Parasite official. Yeah, you can. Does it have... Oh, hey, Parasite. I didn't see you come in. I have been using the new version 2 of the Hoffa IQ series reverb. I've tried it on everything, and the collection of included impulse responses is vast, and I can always find something that falls perfectly into place. The Reverb V2 is possibly the most creative control of any reverb I've ever dealt with. It's got a ton of great sounds and functions. I like the ability to use real or synthetic verbs. The positioner, saturator, comp, etc. are super easy to access and dive into. It's pretty darn great. I'm the engineer for Slipknot. FL Studio has Convolver, and I can almost guarantee it's more powerful than this. Try Redverb 2. You ever use Dumpster Fighter or a Mishping? I downloaded, I think there was another one. I don't know if it was Dumpster Fire, but it was from that like Freak Audio or whatever that thing was called. And I don't think I got the opportunity to try it, but we looked at that the other day. I meant actual samples, not just impulse responses. Well, impulse responses are labeled, like, pretty much show up as samples anyway, so it's kind of the same thing.
Are you cooking something?
No. That's what I was smelling earlier that I was worried about. Doesn't it smell like something's burning? I love Freak Show Industries. Redverb 2 is an incredibly versatile reverb effect which ships with thousands of top-class presets. Its hybrid engine and well-thought-out user interface enable intuitive adjustment of all sonic aspects. Classic, modern, experimental. The choice is yours. Download your free trial right now. Well, this actually looks really cool. Would I buy it? No. Batteries included. Sick. But I do like the interface of this. It reminds me of Hyper Light Driftle, Oscillo's Megascope, Spectrum and Bundle. That price is some nonsense. Well, it's significantly less expensive than that other thing we were looking at. As well as a standalone app. Why would you use a convolution reverb as a standalone? That makes no sense. But it does look like you can import your own based off of the browser that you have. So there's that. Was referring to the Hoffa one. Okay, yeah, that price is absolute nonsense. Well, even $100 is pretty pricey. Actually, it's not. If this is on par of quality of something like Pro R, then that could make sense. But I don't know. Not this one. This one's pretty reasonable.
Everything's off.
Everything's off?
Dropped it. Burnt shit.
All right, well, as long as nothing's on fire.
No, I mean, everything's off.
This is what I use. Convology XT. Standalone? What do you mean? Like, as in, you can just use it outside of the DAW, like something like Contact or Omnisphere or something. I can just, or even this stuff, I can just pull up and use it without having to open up a DAW. Okay. Okay. So right now I've got Contact open and it's being used independently of Bitwig Studio or any other DAW for that matter. But why would you, that's what I'm saying, like why would you open up an effect that, like, you need it needs to have some kind of input or output rather in order for you to be able to know what you're using. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyways, yeah, this is what I use because it's free and you can import your own stuff. It is very like weird and mechanical, but it works. It's also ugly, but like I said, it works. Offers you can refuse. IQ Rev's VST3. Jimmy Hoffa now does his mafia activities by selling you overpriced plugins. Fruity Convolver is basically Edison with all the sample editing features you could possibly dream of. If you can install the standalone on your voice, I'm all for it. But that's still not standalone, right? Because like you would actually just be using it as a VST in OBS or something. I'm going to make you an offer that you will never take. Buy my convolution reverb for $600. Please. Please. I think like the Seventh Heaven one is like $600 too. It's like astronomical. Oh, maybe not this one. This one is even more reasonable. But I don't think that you can import your own. There was one, let's see. Let's just type in convolution viewer. There's one that's like $700 and it's just stupid. Don't buy anything from Waves. They're a shite company. This is a physical one, so that's actually like a real thing. Fog Convolver, that was the other one that I considered. Seemed okay. Echo Thief, you can't import your own presets. Effect Spaces. Where are you at, dude? Altiverb. Jesus. Okay, here we go. That's the one. What? What? Oh, my heart is hurting. What? Oh my god. Fucking yikes. Seventh Heaven isn't a standard convolution. Will it work on M1 chips? Make sure. Speaking of convolution reverb, you should check out the price of Nugent Audio's Paragons. Liquid Sonics is dope. You can import your own. Fog Convolver is nice too. I use that one most often. Bitwig should make its own convolution plugin like Ableton. I agree. I agree. Altiverb is more for movie posts than music. But still, like, it's so fucking expensive. Oh, God. Look at this. Even Avid Space plugin, $500. Speakerphone 2, $450. This is ridiculous. Why anyone would buy a convolution reverb is beyond me. If your DAW doesn't already have one, Melda convolution is free. Well, Melda is okay. It's not that great though. Paragon is one that allows you to alter things in the impulse response. So like, does it make pancakes or what? Because if not, then fuck that. Impulse resynthesis delivers a limitless array of true-to-life spaces. When you consider the countless terabytes of impulse responses that competing products use, Paragon's IR library seems rather humble in comparison, but looks can be deceiving. Paragon's impulse responses aren't static like the one standard convolution reverbs employ. This plugin's state-of-the-art IR synthesis supplies you with access to generate an array of tweakable parameters. Okay, yeah, whatever. It's like every fucking thing, right? Make any sound that you can think of. That's every marketing thing. Most of the time, you're not paying for the engine. You're paying for the library of IRs that have been recorded on different mics and by professionals. Liquid Sonics have a free version too. Okay, hold on one sec. Tailor-made for film and television. Okay. Yeah, there's no way that I would pay $600 for this. No way. That's like a car. I have tried the Paragon. It's actually pretty interesting in terms of technology. That's fine. Like I'm not saying that it's bad, but for $600, that's a DAW. That's the entire kilohearts bundle plus $100. That's a lot of chocolate bars. Oh, Seventh Heaven Professional to $300. No. That's what I mean. You can buy the impulse responses and not get ripped off paying for a fancy UI engine that you don't need. Valhalla should be fine. Valhalla doesn't have isn't a convolution reverb though. $600 for a car. It's a down payment. Let's just buy a reverb and work dollars. No. I need my Bitwigs. What was I gonna look up? Free IRs. Oh wait, free impulse responses. Here you go. What's that one dude? Casper? Joshua Casper? Where's he at? He's got a bunch of them. I highly doubt you can get the functionality of Hoffa out of your DAW and any reverb combined. $5 gigs of impulse responses. Here you go from Ableton, Adventure Kid. Reaper. Here we go. 1,000 free different impulse responses. Finra is free. See, like, I do think that it's the amount because, like, okay, 1,000, but are they good? Like, I still think that even bad ones are useful, especially when you're doing like experimental sound design. Like if you're trying to replicate a cathedral or something, then yeah, I could see why you might want to pay for some exclusive ones, you know. Yeah, I want to hop in and get the impulse response of a Sistine Chapel. Like, okay, yes. But as far as like experimental sound design of like, I want a pot being struck with a wallet. I just looked at the first thing that like around my room, or I don't know, I want to smack my SSD against a metal can or something. You know what I mean? It's like that's fine because it could be cool. I could rent a room for that price and record my own. Yeah, exactly. I mean, 1,000 is really hard to beat though for free. Oh, guys, it's 4:20. You know what that means? That means I'm going to take a drink of water. You need to rent each room you want an IR out of. Or you could just go to like an abandoned warehouse or something. Yeah, I know. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that that's fucking bullshit. $600 for fucking convolution reverb. Are you kidding me? You might as well, like, you'd be better off just sampling whatever the fuck you want to, like, hear, or go buy a VST or something of what it is that you want, as opposed to, it's not BS. You still need the mic for the IRA as well. It's not BS. Reasonably priced tool for movie studios. Well, if you'll pay for it, then that's fine. I wouldn't do it. I still think it's overpriced. And considering that like movies and games and stuff like have their own suite of free convolution impulse responses and reverb plugins and stuff like within their own environments, say like Unreal Engine, Infinity, Fmod, WWise, all that stuff. Like, no. No. I could think of a whole bunch of other things that I would rather spend my money on. Well, when you can import a sample and repitch it and change the start of the response and all these other things within seconds, easier at Yoku, easier to find better sounds. Like, I get that, dude, but like, we're also like sound manglers. Almost every single person in my chat right now is a sound mangler. I know, that's why I said games. I'm not gonna spend $600 on IRs, that's for sure. Yeah, me neither. Think about how many sample packs you could get for $600 instead. Well, think about what you could do with any of that. Like, with you could do a whole lot with $600. I mean, hell, for another $700, you can buy a Mac Mini. So there's a difference between we shouldn't buy this and something that's overpriced. No shit. We're not going to buy it. I mean, my opinion still stands that I think that it's like, I get what you're saying, but I do not think that it's as valuable. I get that you're not going to buy it, and I see what you mean, but to me, like, I don't feel justified, or I don't feel like that's justified in what that's actually worth. Like, recording equipment and stuff aside, no, I wouldn't do it. I would not do that. It's not worth it. I feel like I could invest in like AI or something. But yeah, I don't know, guys. That's where we disagree. Depending on what you do, it's super valuable. The microphones they use to make those IRs cost thousands. Yeah, and again, like I said, that like I'm totally fine with agreeing to disagree on that subject, because I see your point, even though I don't agree. It's just how I feel in that mindset. The thing is that while what you're saying, okay, so here's an abstract comparison if you're talking about sheer equipment, right? So compare that $600 impulse response suite of effects to Superior Drummer 3. Have you seen the studio that's recorded? Have you seen the mics that they use? That it's Dolby Digital. You get 230 gigs of fully customizable, several fully customizable shapes and interface and stuff like that. 230 gigs of content for less than the price of that convolution reverb. Can you check out Space Designer Reverb? You can add an R on it. Yeah, but it's only for Logic. I also don't know much about it. Plus paying people to record, edit, etc. Yeah, that, like I said, but it's like saying a tank is too expensive. We don't need tanks. Tanks aren't for us. I think for me, these IRs would shine and needed most are for acoustic treatments. Oh, instruments. I'd rather buy an amazing sample library recorded in some famous hall than just buy the IRs for that kind of price. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So Superior Drummer 3, right? Same thing. Thousands of dollars of equipment to record. In legendary recording studios with crazy mics, all that stuff. You get all this stuff for $319. I think I got mine for like $200 because I got the upgrade. Right? I guess $319 to $419. Um, 230 gigabytes of raw unprocessed samples, 7 kits, 25 snares, 16 kicks. Compared to essentially a high quality sample library? Because that's pretty much what impulse responses are, right? Is essentially just a quote unquote high quality sample library. I can't justify that. I just can't. And I would even say that, like, for some people, Superior Drummer 3 is too expensive, right? So, you know, I don't know. It's who am I to tell people what's valuable and what's not valuable? But for me, I do think that it's overpriced. Even beside the fact that it's not for me, I do think that's overpriced. But that's, you know what I mean? The same thing can be said about what we were reviewing earlier. Because you can't just bring a location into a room, but you can travel to a location, right? And the thing is, yeah, like there's a lot of factors that roll into that, right? Because you have versatility for one. You have, like, you don't get the room. I do agree it's overpriced, but I used Ableton and I was just not having it with the max convolution or any other convolution for a less price. That's actually kind of surprising that you say that, because I think that Ableton's convolution reverb is like really good. I think it sounds pretty great, to be honest. Especially Live 11's new updated one. The hybrid reverb or whatever. That thing is badass. I'm offended that you disagree. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really care. But that is an interesting take. Well, if you compare sample libraries, instruments recorded in a certain room with just the room, then I know what I'd go for. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard because, like, even with an impulse response, you get a specific impulse in that room. You don't actually get the room. Whereas something like this, you get the instrument, you get the room in Dolby Digital. You get all of the different articulations. You get the environment that's surrounded around the kit. You get a sequencer. You get the effect suite that comes with it. You get crap, man, you get a lot. I think there's something to be said for convolvers that have sample manipulation tools built in. Yeah, for sure. But for $600, nah. No. That is like that is a huge asking price. That's all I'm saying. That is a huge asking price. You can essentially draw the shape of the impulse in IQ Reverb. Nah. You mean nah? The hell do you mean nah? Hey, if any of you guys want to support the channel, there's ways to do that in the description. Or if you love me, then you can at least like the video. I would appreciate that. How does Superior Drummer compare to Addictive Drums? Superior Drummer is a lot deeper and more complex, whereas Addictive Drums has a lot more of a predictable sound that is easier to use out of the box. Again, I'm not trying to shill, just making my argument. Yeah, your argument is welcome here. It just might be it might be combated with other opinions and stuff. As long as that's okay between us, then you're more than welcome to say whatever you want. Just don't call any of us like bitch or something. Then you'd be wasting your time. Then you'd be wasting your time. Don't do that. Yes. Okay, so I have both Addictive Drums and Superior Drummer 3. I find myself still gearing towards Addictive Drums just because I like a lot of the stuff it has. I hope that TuneTrack adopts less of an analog approach to their effects and more of a digital approach, because I think that could really help boost a lot of stuff within it. And I also don't like that for some reason everything in Superior Drummer is gain staged. That is like one of the most annoying things about it. It's literally turned down like 12 decibels. Yo, someone just followed. Thank you so much. If that pops up in the chat, then I'm going to be sure to thank you. I guess it's not popping up, but whoever just subscribed, thank you. I couldn't see who it was. But yeah, also, like, for Spitfire orchestral libraries, don't forget you're paying for all the musicians. One musician is cheaper than an orchestra. That's true too. Yeah, I definitely think that like 200 gigs of Superior Drummer 3 is like overkill, because like the sheer amount of mics and stuff that you have the ability to control, it's like for the most part you really don't need that stuff, especially for us that we do. Well, I guess I would say rather like electronic musicians, you really don't need that other insane large amount of samples for like room for your room mics or something, you know? It's pretty insane. I'm trying to see what other... I thought that said MIDI jitterator at first. I was like, what? That would have been sick, but no. No. Yeah, so you can see here, like, look how analog this stuff is. Again, it's just knobs. And it's just kind of like, ugh. Alright, whatever. Excuse me. Ooh, you can do electronic sounds. And acoustic. Drums. How's it flapping? Well, I can tell you that it's not really flapping, but rather kind of hanging. And we're hanging pretty low tonight. You know what I mean? Heh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Can you dig? No, I'm just kidding. Welcome, though. I'm probably going to go to bed soon, to be honest. But does anybody have any questions about the plugin that we revisited today? That we looked at today? I have good things to say about this. I also think that I have bad things to say about this. So my review will be kind of mixed. But I definitely wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to see, for the most part, at least to some basic degree, about what it does. I read that wrong almost. Oh, you're looking at Superior Drums. I got that a while ago. Yeah. Well, we had a lot of talks about stuff today. There were lots of talks about today's stream regarding convolution reverbs and effects and multi-effects and, oh gosh, what else did we talk about? Physical modeling, synthesizers, FM synths. Has a convolution reverb as well, if that's a factor. Yeah, that was something that I did mention. And Faceplant right now does not have anything of the sort. It's got a reverb, but not a convolution reverb. So, I guess a multipass rather. That's what I was trying to say. That's cool. I'll have to wind the tape back. Sounds like a good yarn. Yeah, we talked about some good stuff, and I overall I do like Enrage, but I do think that it's got some work to do, or like some work to be done to it, especially for the graphical user interface. It's not the friendliest. It's not terrible, but it's not like the most intuitive. And so I hope that whenever I put this review out, it's going to be something that's like constructive for them, because I do like these people. For one, yeah, I do like these people. They're very nice. But two, I hope that I guess Data's already done stuff with this. So I guess like if you want more content on the matter, then there might be somewhere that Data can direct you to. Otherwise, I would just go say to subscribe to his channel. Because he does like lots of different synthesizers and stuff. But for me, I'm going to continue to play with it and then just give like an honest review over the subject. Talking about synthesis methods, is spectral synthesis a thing? Yes, it is. A procedural DAW would be a game changer for experimental artists. A procedural DAW as in like it does things on its own, or what? I've streamed it twice and we'll be streaming it again in a week or so. Okay, well, so yeah, you guys can look out for that, and you should go subscribe to Data anyways, because he does things. He does lots of sound design. If you're already a fan of him, then you should DM him and tell him to release some music, because it's been a while. I'm just kidding. Don't kill me. I should be taking my own advice. But Iris 2 is spectral. Yeah. Spectral synthesis is like painting, I would say. It takes a waveform and like you highlight certain aspects of the waveform, and it generates a new waveform based off of your selection. Hey, Emmanuel. It's pretty crazy that like 4 in the morning. Most likely next year I'll be working on new music. Good. Good to hear. I'm going to give you a hard time until you do. So, yeah. I kind of also want to review Kick 2. I also want to review the glue, but I'm kind of caught up in between. Oh, hey, I've got 20 of you here right now, so hold on. Sorry, but before I do anything else, please do me a favor. I promise it will be for your benefit. Go to my website and buy all my... No, I'm just kidding. But on my YouTube channel, I do this every week. Don't leave anybody. Don't fucking leave. No, you can leave. But every week on my channel, I say, it's that time. What are your production questions / struggles? And so if you want something answered specifically from me in a video, then you can come here and answer the question, or like ask me a question, and I will get to it in a video. So if anybody has any production questions or anything that you want me to take a look at, don't ask me how to G Jones bass. That's for a different thing that I'll be covering in a different time. But if you've got like interesting questions like what makes a limiter a good limiter and what makes a good compressor a good compressor, or things that are philosophical, then please ask me here, because I'm happy to answer your questions and I like making that kind of content. What? Procedural as in you set rules with the music and the music writes it. So, so AI stuff. Yeah, that could be cool. Someone said he uses compression and EQ on his voice. Can I make my voice sound like Venus Theory? Probably. Venus Theory is very well spoken and a very nice person. Also, everybody thumbs up this stream. Thanks, bruh. Yeah, this stream will actually be available to the public because I'm doing like a stream review of this in particular. So if you want to check back on that later at some point in time, then there's that. Thumbs up mean more to YouTube than subscriptions, especially since you can do them on every video. Yeah, it's a thing. I also like comments. I really like comments. I respond to every comment. I like those. But Oh, speaking of, shit, I just reminded myself. Guess what, everybody? We recently passed 8,200 subscribers. So guess what that means? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? We're going to close this up. I think we're done with this one for the day. And we are going to end the stream with who knows? Anybody? Anybody? Is giveaway time. Giveaway time. Okay, here we go, guys. So, free pizza, water. Comments are great too, and we do all the hate shilling ourselves out like this. Lol. So I encourage anyone who wants to support their favorite creator. Yeah, go support Data Broth. That's what he's saying. That's what I'm saying. Sub. All right, so we've got a giveaway going on. So I'm kind of in the habit of doing 3 giveaways, and they're all from my sample pack store. So if we go to alckemy.com, I always do 1 first place winner, and then I always do 2 second place winners. So check it out. On my store, if you are a first place winner, then you get to pick anything off of this website. You probably want that one because that's what everybody takes. But if you're a second place winner, then you can pick anything that's $10 or less. So Ascension, Arbitration, Ash, Ether, and that's pretty much it because all my other stuff is free. Yay. So here's how we do this. If you want to enter the giveaway, I need you to enter a 1 in the chat right now. Like right now. Hold on one second. Here we go. I'm going to let this song play out. I'm going to take a drink of water. You have until the end of the song to enter the giveaway if you want something from my website for free. Enter. Let's go. Do it. 1. I'm just here for the Artseni gluten-free, locally sounded neurobases. Oh, locally sourced neurobases. Get your ass in the giveaway. Well, maybe some news for you is that I've got plenty of neurobases on my website for sale. And I really do need some water. I'm dying over here. Okay, I've got like half of you in there. Come on, guys. Get up in there. Come on. Get up in that giveaway. Enter the giveaway. I want it really bad. Hello there. All right, here we go. We're going to rewind this here in just a second. But let me enter your names, and then I will do a legitimate spin. And so uncivilized. All right, so we got SNF, Greedo, Andreas, Mylong. This is where the fun begins. Parasite. Is it Reefer or Briefer or Griefer? We're just gonna do 6 Reef, but how would I pronounce that name? Because you got all like letters and stuff. Amen. Well, Asymmetrical. Sparky. You can win twice. So, griefer. Okay, cool. Nihilgeist. Am I missing anybody? Did I put Greedo in there? No, yeah, I did. Okay. SNF, Greedo, Mylogify, Andreas, Parasite, Griefer, Manuel, Nihilgeist, Asymmetrical, Sparky. Anybody else? Last chance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Anybody else? Last chance. Okay. Here we go. But before I do that, I have to restart the song because it's not a wheel spin raffle without Yoshi's Island background music. Here we go. I would scream and stuff, but it's almost 5 in the morning and I'm too tired. So just imagine me being enthusiastic. Yo, Mylogify! Congrats, dude. You're the first place winner. So, hop on here, pick whatever you want, send me a DM on Discord, and I'll get you hooked up. Let's go, round 2. This is for second place, guys. Griefer! Yo! Congrats, dude. That looks a little sus to me, though. Alright, we got one more spin. Oh, and you can't win twice in one day. Yo, Parasite, congrats, man. You are our last second place winner. So, congrats, everybody. Dope. Alright, so, every 200 subs, I do a giveaway like this, where I do 3 giveaways. And, so if you didn't make it this time, then add the next 200 subs, which would be 8,400 subs, then we'll do this again. And then also, when I get to 10,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a sub pack. It's used, but it's still a sub pack. But I'm giving away one of these. So if you guys can help me get to 10K, and I would be more than happy to reciprocate back to you all. So it's a 349 value. It's really awesome. It works really well. It's in great condition. The only thing is that I don't use it anymore because it kind of hurts I have back problems, and I got the backpack version, so I want the chair version. But still, it's a sub pack, dude. So, and it's free. So all you got to do is just help me get to 10K, and then I will put out probably like a 2-week long thing and enter everybody. Wasn't the last giveaway like a week ago? Decent growth, bro. Yes, but it was a different giveaway. I also have an alert that if you get a cow alert, then that also triggers a giveaway. So I do lots of giveaways because I like to do giveaways. I like to give back to the community. You guys support me in a lot of different ways, and I want to make sure that you all know that I really appreciate everything that you do. So hold on one second. Okay. In my alert box, I've got, I think it's this one.
Recording to logbook.
Nope, not that one. Sorry. Super chat, pledge. Member.
Sold deal!
Alright, so that's the normal one whenever I get a new member, but I've also got the cow. Let me see which one it is. Nope.
Sold!
Nope.
Sold!
There we go. So if we get the cow, then that also triggers a giveaway. So you've got a bunch of different chances and stuff to get on that stuff. See you, Data. Thanks for coming in. Random Matt Heffy. Wasn't the last giveaway like, congrats to the winners and the new subs? Yeah. So if you get a cow, that triggers a giveaway. If you get it to every 200 subs, you do a giveaway. For 10,000 subscribers, we will do the big giveaway, to which I'll figure out what to do next for the next subscriber goal, but that is what it is. For you guys, DM me on Discord, whatever you want, within your, winnings, and I'll just send you a download link. But to the rest of you guys, I think it's time for me to eat something and go to bed, but thank you so much for joining me tonight. I had a wonderful time. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to me. I've been working very, very hard to get my channel up off the ground. So, and if not, it's cool. I at least appreciate you all being here and having someone to talk to. So, either way, I have nothing but gratitude. I'm going to go to bed, everybody. Good night, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. I will see you all Thursday for Tune Feedback. Bye, everybody.